Sometimes putting in the extra work just isn't worth it in video games. We fight the toughest monsters, complete the most complicated challenges, and all we get is a trash item we'll never end up using anyway. Today we're talking about some of the worst items we got from the toughest challenges in video games. Starting off at number 10, Final Fantasy Rebirth is the game that a lot of us here at gameranx played the most in 2024 because it is one of the games with the most stuff per second. There are so many mini games and things, we can't even list them all. There are Queen's Blood matches and side activities and optional bosses to fight, endless things to do before actually beating the game, and then even more side activities after taking down the baddie for the second time. And the biggest challenge for us was in Chapter 12. So if you're insane enough to complete every side quest and every minigame in the Golden Saucer, there's one final challenge waiting for you. The last side quest of Rebirth puts your team against a real party animal. He sets new high scores in every Golden Saucer minigame, including the Colosseum and Queen's Blood, so you'll need to master basically everything. Master the chocobo races and fight an army of tonberries in one of the most obnoxiously evil combat scenarios in the entire game. So while some of the minigames are a breeze, others are just gonna give us nightmares forever. Like completing all the 3D brawler challenges, completing another Queen's Blood tournament with a truly evil card, and finishing the final marathon chocobo race packed with total random failure walls is just gonna haunt us for the rest of time. It was crushing. For playing for 100 hours, for doing everything you can possibly do in Final Fantasy Rebirth, and defeating the obnoxiously difficult Shinra Middle Manager, the 3D brawler fight, you'll earn your reward here. The Gambler Materia is one of the most useless items in the game. This materia allows you to use any spell from any character's equipped materia, but the spell is totally random, and it still costs MP. The ultimate party animal challenge isn't really the most difficult thing you can do in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but it's close. For doing everything in an already extremely long game, you're just rewarded with this item that only a gambler would love. Now, number 9, the Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster updates one of our favorite games from the 360 era. It retains all the weird details of the original, like the crazed psycho bosses and all the cool stuff in the mall. And with all those cool bosses, some of them drop the best weapons in the game. Adam the Clown drops that pair of the mini chainsaws you can use for a lot of your run with the right buffs. But there's one boss that drops a weapon that's both awesome and totally useless at the same time. So on day 3, if you don't remember this, you'll encounter Paul the Arsonist. He's a crazy boss that tosses Molotov cocktails while running around the amusement park area of the mall. Now, unlike other bosses, Paul actually runs away from you, dropping explosive fire bottles in his wake. He's surprisingly resistant to gunshots in the face like a lot of the enemies, so your best bet is chasing him around with a chainsaw or a katana.
Burn! Yeah, burn!
Hilariously, the fight ends with Paul dumping a Molotov right on his crotch. You can watch him burn or put out the fire and rescue him, but you can't even do that with any other psycho boss. So this is already actually like a secret interaction that we weren't expecting. Now, even better, if you do rescue him, Paul will call you and give you an infinite supply of Molotov cocktail weapons. These explosives work like grenades, lighting up swarms of zombies with just a single throw. The Molotov is a unique weapon you won't find anywhere else. The only way to unlock them is by helping Paul and waiting for him to give them to you. But I buried the lead here. There's just one problem. Paul doesn't call you until day 3, right before the military invades and starts clearing out the zombie infestation in the mall. So when the military arrives, the survivors escape on their own with Otis, and that includes Paul. So you literally only have a few in-game hours to request Molotov cocktails. Each fire bottle takes a precious item slot in your inventory, so you can't even carry that many of them, and you wouldn't want to because you can only throw these things once. And the biggest part that I was trying to get at is that you don't even get to really use them to their full potential at some of the best parts of the game. Molotovs here are really cool, but also kind of worthless. Next, over at number 8, we're talking about another remake in Super Mario RPG. An awesome JRPG for beginners to hardcore. You know, you would argue that it's pretty much a breeze for adults to beat. If you're brave enough though, the remake mixes things up with an extremely challenging post-game quest to defeat revamped bosses from the original. It like beefs them up and adds some new gimmicks and stuff. So some of these fights for us here were literally impossible to win without using rare items that grant turns of invincibility. The booster rematch, which was totally bugged for us, you can't tell us it wasn't bugged, it literally wipes your party in a turn. Other fights require perfect timing to overcome, and these bonus bosses are just an appetizer. The main course is the new and improved Culex 3D. Now this right here is the final form of the original SNES game's secret boss. He's surrounded by crystals and unleashes insta-kill attacks multiple times per turn. It's total BS. The only way to avoid wiping out is by perfect guarding, and you'll need to get that timing down. He can cast 3 magic attacks in a row, and even with all that perfect guarding, you'll be desperately fighting for a chance to fight back against the onslaught. This is one of the toughest bosses we've fought in quite some time, and after a grueling fight, you'll earn the Crystal Shard item. And it does nothing. The Crystal Shard just exists as a trophy. It's a symbol of proof that you've beaten the toughest challenger in Super Mario RPG Remake. It's insane to think that this is an item we've worked towards for 27 years. We defeated a big boss that haunted our childhoods, and all we got was this crummy Crystal Shard. Now over at number 7, one of the most useless rewards in any video game ever, the Poison Mist form in Castlevania Symphony of the Night, is a real stake in the heart after beating the most grueling boss in the game. So this upgrade turns your normal Mist form ability green and deals very slight damage to enemies. When we say slight, you're doing 1 damage per tick. You'd struggle to even kill the weakest enemies in the inverted castle with this spell. This power should just be called fart cloud form for how effective it really is, and the green colored gas adds insult to injury. This is less poisonous and more smelly. Alucard really deserves better with this. So to actually earn it, to earn this poison, you'll have to reach the secret inverted castle area and then defeat Galamoth, a supersized ultra opponent that has multiple times more health than any other boss in the game. And he stomps around and covers the whole arena with electricity and a bunch of throws. It's annoying. It's an impressive boss, and you would think one like this would give an awesome reward, and that's what our younger, dumber selves thought, so we really tried hard to beat this, and then yes, you get Poison Mist. It has no use really, should never really be used ever, and it makes us kind of feel real silly for trying to get it in the first place. Next, over at number 6, if we are talking about the hardest challenges in video games, of course, we can't leave out Elden Ring, specifically Shadow of the Erdtree, the expansion. We could make a list of the hardest challenges in video games and just fill it with moments from this. And like all Dark Souls games, disappointing rewards come with the territory. You know, we're not beating the toughest bosses in video games here to get something good. We're doing it for the love of the game. But sometimes these rewards aren't really all that worth the extra effort. So the longest quest in Shadow of the Erdtree puts you on the trail of Count Ymir, the weird priest that lives in a giant abandoned cathedral. Now, you'll need to find 3 secret spots on the map to ring 3 weird bells. The Finger Ruins are some of the strangest places in any Dark Souls. Giant craters of finger-shaped rock pillars and weird alien-like monsters. So you're going through that, you're ringing all the bells, and ringing all of them sends the player to the birthing canal dimension where you'll fight the weirdest boss in the game here, Mother of Fingers. It's a big mess of fingers that squirm around and unleash over-the-top magic. It's difficult, but it's also really, really gross. And it's also not even the end of the quest. So if you manage to find all the secret areas and finish all the steps and defeat this uncomfortable boss, then you'll face the Count himself. He'll open his flasher robes to actually like reveal this big massive fingers underneath.
And I will be the only mother. My dear children.
And then finally beating him, guess what? You get your own set of weird, gross robes. Yes, the High Priest set is a normal, underwhelming set of clothes for magic-oriented players, but they really aren't that great. There's no reason to get this set unless you want to weird everyone out. These normal clothes can be altered at any site of grace to reveal the wiggling little fingers pointing out, changing the name and then giving players a buff to finger magic. Too bad finger magic is kinda mid. Now at number 5, the chainsaw in Silent Hill 2 returns in the Bloober Team remake, and it's still one of the best unlockable rewards in horror games. Other Silent Hill games though were not so nice. The infamous silver and gold pipe weapons in Silent Hill 3 are like the opposite side of the best items spectrum. These shiny upgrades for your pipe are totally useless. They're actually weaker than your normal pipe, and you'll have to go far out of your way to even unlock them. So after beating the game once and starting over, you'll need to navigate the Otherworld Mall, progress through the Nightmare subway station, and then finally reach the sewers. If you've played the game once before, you can interact with the menacing water where a killer monster lives, but by interacting, you'll get a bizarre sequence with the magical fairy of the sewers. Yes, the Silent Hill games get a little weird. So she tests you by asking a series of questions, trading your pipe for the silver pipe and the gold pipe if you answer correctly. There's just one big problem. We mentioned it before. The silver pipe is ridiculously weak, and the gold pipe is even weaker. I guess that's why you don't make weapons out of precious metals in real life as much. But hey, let's move on. At number 4, the biggest weapon in Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind is also like the most useless. The insanely heavy hammer appeared in the Tribunal expansion for Morrowind, and it is so tempting. The legendary weapon is locked away in the Museum of Artifacts in the city of Mournhold. A few guards and a pane of glass are all that's really keeping you from walking away with one of the most powerful artifacts in all of Elder Scrolls. But there's just one problem with stealing Stendarr's hammer here. The weapon weighs 1,000 pounds. You'll need to grind up to the maximum level of strength. Strength 100, just to lift this weapon. Carrying it is almost impossible without cheating. And when we were first playing Morrowind, we didn't realize how powerful cheats could be in Bethesda games. We leveled up the old-fashioned way just to get this dumb thing. Dozens of hours of in-game training and grinding, and the most powerful weapon in the game was ours. It's just too bad Stendarr's hammer also shatters after about 10 uses. Yes, it is the most powerful weapon in the game, the most heaviest, and it is also the most brittle. A few hits of this hammer causes it to permanently break. This dumb thing belongs in the worst weapons Hall of Fame. And now down at number 3, Baldur's Gate 3. It throws dumb magic items at you all the time, like candy, which is pretty useful because your early party member Gale needs to eat magic items to live. There's a lot of worthless stuff to find in the ridiculously intricate world of this game, and a lot of incredible legendary items in places that you'd never think to look. But the hardest weapons to get in Act 1 are the adamantine weapons, and they're all crummy. Later in Act 1, you'll need to reach an area called the Grim Forge. It's this ancient, abandoned workshop. It's flooded with lava, no big deal. So to activate the old machinery and forge your own custom weapons here, you'll actually need to defeat one of the most aggravating optional bosses in the game. The giant grim construct is this like invulnerable golem that can only be harmed by superheating him in the lava. So flooding the arena in lava briefly makes him vulnerable to some damage. And luring him into the giant hammer mechanism in the center is a good way to really mess him up. But combine invincible enemies that act erratically with chambers full of lava and a whole lot of glitches, and you get one annoyingly hard boss fight.
Swiftly now.
If you do manage to destroy the boss, you'll be rewarded with a special forge that can craft powerful, unique weapons and armor.
Karlach, a hypothetical question for you. If not me, of course, detected a hint of romantic interest from another unnamed individual, what might that someone do about it?
Ah! Nice!
If you choose to craft the weapons, you'll feel like a fool. Better weapons are found very early in Act 2. The armor and shield are actually very good thanks to their critical damage immunity stats. The weapons are a total letdown for how much work you have to do to get them, and you only get 2 chances to make them. The weapons are far from the worst in the game, but after falling for the weapon trap and missing your chance to get more great gear, they might as well be the worst weapons to ever exist in any video game, because what? Oh my god, how frustrating. And now down at number 2, the toughest challenge in Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is buried underground at the floating Colosseum. So located beneath the Colosseum ruins, this arena is home to the most difficult challenge in the game, a lot of people would argue. So entering triggers a series of fights against increasingly powerful Lynels. These are some of the toughest enemies in the game, and each one is covered in gloom. So Link can only heal after curing the permanent gloom poisoning to his health, lowering max health with each hit you suffer. So it's annoying. You have to fight through 5 waves of these guys to earn your reward. Now, we cheated this battle a little bit by building an auto turret to blast them all with laser beams and cannons. It only took an hour of waiting and slowly managing the turret and repairing it when it breaks and luring the Lynels into the firing range. Sure, you know, it's kind of cheesing, but it was also a lot of hard work. A lot of hard work we're starting to regret because the chest in the center of the arena contains Majora's Mask. Yes, the same Majora's Mask from the Nintendo 64 game. It's a really fun Easter egg, but the mask doesn't really do much. Wearing it is meant to make monsters ignore you more often, but you can barely tell the difference between wearing it and not wearing it. Like, unless you're like a really big like Majora's Mask fan and you just have to accessorize Link with references to the previous games, this fight is just not worth the trouble. At least this is much better reward than in Breath of the Wild. For finding all the Korok seeds in that game, and there are 900 of them, Hestu rewards you with an item called Hestu's Gift, and it's a gold coil of poop. Congratulations, thanks a lot. And now lastly, down at number 1, Dragon's Dogma 2. It follows in the footsteps of the weird original game, a game that can be brutally difficult when it wants to be. And there's one brutal challenge nobody should take here, especially for the reward you'll get. In Dragon's Dogma 2, there's a Sphinx that rewards you for answering her riddles correctly. You've probably seen her pop up in videos and stuff. It's one of the most fun additions to the game, but one of these riddles made us question our life choices. The riddle of futility is one of the most evil challenges in the game. The Sphinx challenges you to carry the world's most breakable vase, or vase, however you say it, from her cliffside temple all the way to the desert capital. This is a really long trek to take on foot. And on foot, we took it. Monsters spawn and respawn every 100 feet in the desert region. Each one can shatter the vase with a single touch. There are flying griffins. They'll blindside you from above. Oh, and then you also need to watch out for golems that fire I-beams at really long range to like snipe your ass.
Well done.
Poison is a nasty affliction.
Mayhap the force of this torrent could be employed for our own ends.
There are like threats every step of the way back. We tried everything to make this trip easier. We even tried using the fast travel cart. That doesn't work. We tried using the Skyway gondolas. Those worked a little better, but griffins would still smash the gondola, or the vase would simply phase through the railings. After dozens of tries and more than an hour of annoying, careful, stressful maneuvering with this vase, we managed to complete the quest and give the vase to a target quest NPC. And for all that, the Sphinx rewards you with the Eternal Bond Ring. This ring, when equipped, increases favor earned by 10%. If you give it as a gift, it increases bond by a fair amount. That's it. Bond is a mechanic that, you know, some people really like, but 10%, like, it really doesn't do a lot. The affinity mechanic, some people can play through and ignore it completely, and the 10% is just not worth it. And to make matters worse, there is a much easier way to solve the riddle of futility. Instead of taking the vase across all the way to this guy, you can take the guy to the vase with a port crystal. It's just that easy. Never do what we did. We might be proud of our extremely dumb accomplishment here on video, but we can safely say that this is not worth completing. It's like one of the hardest challenges in the game. Absolute insanity. Now, those are 10 crappy items we earned for completing, frankly, unreasonable and heroic challenges in video games. What are your favorite disappointing rewards? We definitely want to know in the comments. Let us know. If you like this video, clicking the like button helps us out. We put out videos every single day, and you know, we're doing all these weird, dumb, tough activities and games for no rewards, so hope you enjoyed, but that's how we do it here. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.